Hello and welcome to the new BMW 4 Series. This model is the M440i, so that means it has a 3 litre straight 6 petrol, turbocharged, and it produces 374 horsepower, giving this non-M car, it's not a proper M car, giving this car a 0 to 60 of 4.5 seconds, claimed. Now, I've seen many videos that show that's an understatement. You're more looking like low fours, maybe 4.2, 4.1 seconds for a car like this, which is just as fast as the previous generation full M4 competition. This is possibly down to the fact it has XDrive, which means it's got better grip off the line. The previous M4 was known for being quite twitchy, bit dodgy to drive. Now, the main talking point about this car is the new kidney grille for the 4 Series. It's a lot bigger than it once was. In fact, it's over twice as large as the previous generation 4 Series, and it's come under a lot of fire for just being, ugly and, the worst looking BMW in history. And I'm not sure I agree. It might not work as well on the standard 4 Series like this one, but it looks amazing on the new M3 and M4 variant. Now, if you walk around and have a look at the boot, you can see it's pretty big actually. I'm not sure how big exactly, but big enough to fit my camera equipment and plenty else. So, that's a good point. Now, we shall move on to the interior. Big doors, but actually not too heavy, not as bad as the X5M. If we step in, we stop making an annoying noise, close the very lovely door handles. This is the interior of the 440i XDrive. You see I was playing with the sport suspension earlier, and yes, this has got the same gauge cluster now as basically all modern BMWs. It's pretty much the last to adopt it actually, other than the M5 next to me. Ignore my camera equipment for filming, but it's roomy. It feels lovely. It's got wireless charging there, and you can of course play around with all the sport modes, which we do like to see. I must admit, this whole pattern here is just a bit weird. I mean, I'd prefer it in carbon fibre, which is not actually an option for this car because it's not the full-on M version. But it feels solid, but it looks and sometimes feels like it's been wrapped on, and it's a bit off-putting for me. But the rest of the interior here, knee pads, knee support, which does work, and up here, it's soft, seemingly stitched material, and it's soft padded down here. The steering wheel is nice and leathery, and this here is nice and plastic aluminium-y. Well, now that I'm sat in the car, what are my first impressions? Well, feels nice. I've got a lot of room, for a coupe. There's a lot of room. I've got about 6 foot, and I've got about 2 inches of headroom. There's loads of adjustment in the seat, which is lovely to see. And the steering wheel it's typical BMW thick. If you're not familiar, BMW for a while have just been slightly increasing the thickness of their steering wheel, and compared to other cars I've been in, it's noticeably thicker. I've been in plenty of Range Rovers, and their steering wheels are thinner and, in my opinion, nicer to hold than this. It's huge. It looks massive, and the paddles are actually they're not difficult to reach. But if you're gear shifting, if you're in a sports car like this, you want to be able to press the full paddle and enjoy the experience. But I find myself kind of just tapping the edges, which I'm not a fan of. And also the paddles on the front they are aluminium on the front. That's genuine. I can feel that cold aluminium, and on the back, plastic, which is typically Audi, but BMW do that now apparently. The seats are very comfortable, and BMW make fantastic seats. I've been in the X5M competition, the 2021, and those seats are lovely. They're so supportive. They're perfect. I say I'm an average build, and they're lovely. And these feel nice. They're soft in the right places, tight in the right places. The side bolsters, they're not uncomfortable. They're just firm. You know, if you were flinging this round a corner, you can lean on those, which is perfect. BMW always make good seats, and this is no exception. But I'd be happy with these in a proper M car. This is just the M140i, M440i. Sorry, I should say. So, what do I think of the car as a whole? Well, it's hard to say what I think of it as a whole, because at the end of the day, I haven't driven the thing. From what I've heard, you know, it's very fast, and from what I've seen, it can compete with some seriously more expensive, quicker cars, which is good to see. In terms of the interior, on the whole, I like it. Although there is some, I don't know if you can hear that, cheap plastic, you know, down the sides of the centre tunnel. Yeah, it doesn't really matter, if I'm honest, it doesn't matter at all. The rest of this car is lovely. The upper dashboard is trimmed in what looks like leather, though at this price point I would imagine it's fake leather. But that doesn't matter because it feels nice. And it's the same on the door sills. The grab handles are a mixture of cheap plastic and fake leather. The steering wheel, as always, is proper genuine leather, nice stitching. Very big. BMW steering wheels have a tendency to be big nowadays, and this one is uncomfortably so. The paddles they're not hard to reach, but it feels like it's more effort than it should be just to tap what's actually a bit of plastic. These paddles, they look like aluminium from the front, but no, they are plastic. And the indicator stalks are plastic, but this is a 4 Series and it starts at about 43 grand. The M440i, which is this one, starts at £52,000, and I think this one is spec'd up to £62,000, which is a lot of money. But I can see someone spending £62,000 on this car. I don't think that's too much. I mean, me as a petrol head, I could buy so many, in my opinion, better cars overall than this. But there's plenty of argument for it. I mean, it's got the latest technology. You know, it's got all the fancy driving modes. It's got good, solid, probably reliable engine. And it's the newest thing, and I know most people just want a car to get them from A to B, and I can imagine this being supremely comfortable to do that in. These fantastic leather seats, you know, just in cruise control on the motorway. I mean, that's what this thing's designed for. It's designed to be easy to drive on the motorway, easy to cruise in, and then when you want to take it on a back road, this has XDrive, which is BMW's 4-wheel drive system. So I imagine it will grip very well. The M5 next to me also has XDrive, and those things are ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And I imagine this thing's no different. If I get in a car, the main bits I touch, you know, when I get in, probably the buttons in the center console, the door handles, the steering wheel and the seats, and all of those are admittedly pretty perfect. These buttons they're plastic. They're not terribly cheap plastic, but they are noticeably different from the 8 Series, which is it's the little things like that do push the 8 Series a bit more upmarket. However, I still think BMW have a bit of an issue with bringing their interiors from the more expensive cars into the lower cars, because while it's fantastic for the cheaper cars, the more expensive cars, it cheapens them. it does cheapen them. But no, I mean, this thing, it's got so much technology. I don't know how to work it. I've got no clue. I know how to change the sport modes. That's because it just has a big button there that says sport right next to the engine start stop button, which is finished in aluminium. So that is actually lovely. Yeah. So on the whole, pretty good interior. In terms of the way this thing looks, I don't mind it. I must admit the old 4 Series was looking a bit outdated. So to see a new one is refreshing. And obviously they've gone very brave with the styling. I think it'll work. I think it's one of those designs that people on the internet will love to hate until they see it in person and they think, oh, maybe it's not that bad. Then after a year, when a lot of them are on the road, I think people will be okay with it. I think people will actually like it. I like it. It's not as sharp as the previous 4 Series. I mean, it's weird because from the front, it's very sharp. It's very angular. But from the sides, it's a bit soft. It's a bit flat, almost a bit overweight. And this is no light car, but it's hardly overweight. It's just not as angular. The previous 4 Series had those lovely lines that went all the way from the doors, creases, all the way over the rear arches, and that even made the standard ones look muscular. But this one it looks a bit chubby from the back. Not that that's a bad thing. That's just my opinion. So of course I'd like to say thank you to BMW North Oxford for organising this and letting me walk around the car, film it, review it for the day. You know, it's been really interesting actually to see this car in person because it's basically one of the first in the UK, and as none of these are on sale yet, this is a good car, and I'm glad I could film it to see it in person, because I know a lot of people were telling me, oh, it's awful, it looks ugly, it's disgusting, but in person it's alright. I mean, sure, the grille looks big, but if you look at other cars like Audis or Mercedes, their grills are huge. They've been huge this whole time and no one's cared. So from that respect, I mean, it's not that bad. So thank you to BMW North Oxford for letting me loose with this car. Hopefully sometime next year I'll get to drive one. Maybe even the M1. I mean, not the M1, the M3 or the M4, but you get the point.